My name's Bill Burke. I'm the Managing Director of Ground Rush Financial. And so we're doing a series of videos, and today we're going to talk about something regarding gifts to children. And these gifts can come from grandparents, it can come from parents to the child. In this example, I'm going to use a 5-year-old. Now, what I've also included in this is a script, and it's a new script regarding 7702, Roth IRAs, and 529 plans. Because what's happening today, everybody, is people are worried about education for children, so you're seeing a lot of 529 plans. Now, what's interesting about 529 plans is that under the new 2.0 Retirement Act just passed by Congress, they're going to allow 529 plans, starting in 2024, to be rolled into Roth IRAs. Now, that's interesting because what I'm going to talk about right now is, in essence, Section 7702, which is the advanced Roth IRA concept using life insurance. So it all sort of fits together. Now, what I've included on this is a script. And let me explain how the script's going to work. I'll read a little bit of it to you right now, but it'll be included in the package you get with this. And then there's going to be a diagram that you're going to see as I move through this. So here's what we might be saying. When you might be asking the question or talking to somebody about this. When you hear about Roth accounts and 529 educational plans for children, do you ever wonder about all the rules surrounding those strategies? The concept of giving to a child or grandchild is wonderful. I wondered about a similar gift that would eliminate all the distribution and educational use rules and still provide tax-free benefits. So I found an IRS code 7702 that accomplished just that. Now, have you heard of 7702? And you wait for the answer. It allows gifts of any amount and no restrictions on the use of funds. The deposits are flexible, the accounts grow tax-free and are not subject to losses. The funds can be allocated to a number of indexes that can produce market-like returns, and the gains can never be lost. Does that sound good so far? The parent or grandparent can retain control of these tax-free funds for their own benefit if needed. Then they can transfer control to the child when they believe it's appropriate, or they can even decide to terminate the 7702 plan if they don't feel the child deserves the money. So it seems that parents or grandparents would appreciate that. What do you think of that yourself? Then if the child takes over the plan when an adult, the tax-free fund could be a substitute for a 401k contribution. The increase in the 7702 fund would probably be greater than the 401k deposit. And this plan could ultimately generate large amounts of tax-free income for retirement. And finally, attached to this whole thing is something called living health benefits that are tax-free and automatically are part of the plan. Those protect the child in case they have an accident or health problem on the way to retirement. Now there's more, but what do you think so far? So we're going to wait for the client to wonder about it. And now I'm going to go through a graphic. So let me explain how this works. Let's take the grantor. Now, when I say grantor, we're talking about a parent, it can be a grandparent, it could be a cousin, it could be an aunt or an uncle. The gift to this life insurance contract can be done by anybody. The gift will come from, for example, a required minimum distribution that didn't need all the money. It could come from a distribution from an IRA before distributions are required at age 73. It just might be a gift because the parent or grandparent wants to help the child get a leg up in the future. And remember, we're dealing with someone who says, I'd like to help a child or grandchild. Now, if that doesn't apply, then we're not going to be using this strategy. But this is where you ask the questions and find out what people are doing and what they would like to do. Now, once the money is given into this 7702 plan, you're going to notice that the client initially, the grantor, controls the funds, and they're all going to grow tax-free. So the grantor owns it. It's on the life of the child. The child's 5 years old, has no control over it, and will not have control until the grantor gives control to that child. So we have a great amount of time to see how the child reacts, how to teach the child about money, how to begin to have a relationship and discussing what savings means to them. And when a child gets to be 13 or 14 years old, you're starting to see $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 becomes a real number that they begin to understand and want to know more about. Then, At some point, this policy is transferred to the child. There's no gift taxes. There's no special tax rules to follow. So now the child is involved in this. And this gift, by the way, may not take place until the child's 21 or 22 years old. In fact, you're going to see in the example that at the end of age 18, if the grandparent or parent simply says, you know what, we've given this kid a lot of money, he doesn't seem like he appreciates it, you can just terminate the plan and the grantor gets their money back. So there's all kinds of flexibility and control on the part of the grantor as on the way to making this gift to the child. So let's now talk about what the actual illustration might look like. Now, you've all seen these kind of illustrations, but I've done this now in a much more favorable way to start with a very low deposit. So in this case, I'm going to start with a couple $100s a month, and we're going to start with $1 million death benefit. Now, why is that important? We want to generate living benefits, because remember, later on down the road, this child may need those living benefits for a critical illness or injury or a heart attack, stroke, some type of disability where they can't work. So those are all parts of this whole planning process that is really terrific and adds to our overall gift experience. Now the parent, let's call the grantor from now on, is going to contribute $200 a month, and you're going to notice in this, by the time they get to age 14, the grantor is making a $2,400 gift and the cash value is growing at $2,800. Now we're starting to move into something called compound interest. Now, by the time we get to age 18, the guardian, or the grantor has put in $33,000, and the cash value now is worth $32,000. So if they wanted to walk away and just say, this child does not deserve the policy, they can do so, and it's almost a total cost recovery. But if they wait till age 25, let's say that they don't have to make any more deposits, so until the child turns 25, that cash value has grown to now where that $33,000 of contribution is now offset by a $39,000 value. So if grandparents wanted to get rid of that policy, they walk away with a $5,000 profit. Now, let's assume that the child has learned about saving money and now says, you know what, I'm 25 years old, I have a chance to do a 401k plan. Now, we all know that a 401k is basically just a loan from the government. We're going to owe tax on it. So what if we then, instead of putting $1,000 a month into a 401k plan, now I'm going to say if you've gotten a matching, you would always give a match to the 401k plan because the match is free money. But let's assume we have $1,000 and that child now says, I can take a deduction for $1,000, or I can put $1,000 in this 7702 plan, and I put in $12,000 that first year, my cash value has grown $13,000. And I've made $1,000, but look I have access to $51,000. And then by the time I'm 29, my cash value is growing $18,000 that year. So I put in 12, I get 18,000, I've got tax-free growth. It's looking pretty good right now. And then we're going to get into the next year. We get now look at this, we're going to now up the contribution to $24,000 or $2,000 a month. Well, why would he do that? Well, look at this. By the time he's 34 years old, he puts in $24,000 and the cash value grows by $40,000. Now, think about this. I'm putting in 24, my cash value increases to 40, I've made a $16,000 profit, and at this point, my value is $269,000 in my 7702 plan. Buy a house, buy a car, it begins to look very attractive, and I got all my living benefits along the way. Now, let's increase it at age 41. He says, let's put $3,000 a month into this plan. Now, the cash value is growing to the point where it's $87,000 of 1 year cash value increase. We have an $877,000 account right now. The total contributions have been $489,000. So suddenly I'm sitting here with an $800,000, $877,000 tax-free account, and that means money for houses. It's all kinds of opportunities. And now finally at age 50, I'm not going to make any more contributions. So now I have $1.5 million in my account. The cash value at age 55, the cash value increase is $135,000. And if I take this out to the end, and you can see the tax-free income, the tax-free income starting at age 65 is $287,000 a year for the rest of his life. It's tax-free, and so far they put in $705,000. You take $287,000 for 3 years, that equals $862,000 of tax-free benefits. So the original deposit's already made up by tax-free distributions. And now look, by the time and these numbers are pretty spectacular, but they're all possible because of compound interest. So now, by the time he's 75 years old, he's pulled out $2.5 million, $2,587,000 of tax-free income. When he's 80, and 85, he's up to $5.4 million, and the numbers just get enormous along the way. And so if you happen to live till 95, which is possible in these days, he can end up pulling out $8.3 million. Now, the point of these illustrations is not to sort of bore the client with numbers, but it's for you to understand that if you find a parent or somebody that says, I would like to see my child be successful in the future, because I think people are worried today about future taxes, the economy, market losses. There are so many unknowns out there that if I can get my child in those first 18 years, whether they start at 5 or 8 or 12, if I can have an impact on their savings ability, teach them about money, and let them begin to save on their own, whether it ends up being, whether they put $500 a month in or $100 a month, whatever they do, just the compound interest and the tax-free growth is impressive. So that's my message on this video for all of you to begin to think, how do we tell an exciting story? Because parents who have excess funds are not aware they can make these kind of gifts and that they can control the money at the same time. So let's try that out, everybody.